going to be a 45-foot between my property and theirs. What you really think about it? I've heard proposals before. Somebody says there's going to be a shop put there. No shop appears. It's just property being used for something else that the city will not collect a penny on. Thank you.
Do we have any other public comment?
Becky Pittman, number 7 Lang Avenue in Savoy. And I'll make it brief tonight and just go ahead and say, you heard what I said last time, that I am against rezoning the Church Street property that is R2, that's primarily surrounded by R2, rezoning it to the highest allowed residential to R5. I recommend that the board go against the commission's recommendation and vote no. Now then, since I have a little time left, I want to talk about the place that I walked behind to get to Walmart, take behind the new bank, the sidewalk, and then Captain Jack's. There's a mulberry tree that overhangs that sidewalk. And in the summertime, it's just nasty. You have to squish through 2 inches of mulberries. And, you know, and my little wagon tracks, I have to try to clean my wagons and don't dare get any on your shoes. And I didn't know if the village could maybe persuade the bank to possibly do a kind thing and at least trim the part that overhangs the sidewalk, or possibly the village might be able to look into that. And I do appreciate the last winter when I talked to Joan about not being able to get through because the snow was plowed up there. And in the future, a lot more people than you think use that sidewalk going back and forth from Walmart, and even farther away now that the weather's nice than just the people that have to walk a couple blocks. Thank you.
Hello, thank you all for being here today as well. My name is Erica Manuel and I live at the properties adjacent that are in question, the 2 lots. And so I am against the rezoning till R5. I believe that in the previous staff reading on the 6th, the applicant herself already conceded that R4 would be sufficient for a cottage court. I also think that right now it's a little ambitious to raise both to R5 and have that be the question when the parcels aren't combined. I also believe that there's a little bit of like infactual proposals going forward with the cottage court proposal. I know the applicant talked about each person having their own backyard or a driveway to each unit, and that is against what the cottage court code provides for. I also don't think that the path is very clear in that way. I don't think that the applicant has really proven that this type of project could go forward at the R4 level or R5 with a cottage court.
Hello, my name's Christina Manuel. This is my daughter. We also live adjacent, right next door at 115 West Church Street. So my property lies directly to the east of those 2 parcels. We are against the R5 designation, just simply because once it's been rezoned R5, there is nothing, absolutely nothing that keeps them from being able to put in a permit for any other sort of structure. We've found that out with the last meeting, was that it doesn't go back in front of a zoning board, and all it gets is a building permit. And as long as the building permit meets the R5 qualifications, they can put whatever fits inside of an R5 qualification next door to me. R5 would be up to 3 stories. I do not want a 3-story apartment complex next to me. I don't think, I've also established last time that we've done the measurements. It's kind of a weird shaped parcel. It's got one longer than the other. I don't think the way it's structured and how wide it is, a cottage court will fit there. They wanted 8 buildings. Each building has to have 2,500 square foot lot size. You have to have 30 feet wide of the court inside. You have to have, that does not include the setbacks. That's 5 feet on each side. You have to have a drive that goes to a back parking lot. That back parking lot, according to standards, has to have so many parking spaces per building plus handicap spots. There's all this stuff that I don't think she's had a civil engineer like Mr. Fabric do any sort of plotting, planning. It does not work within the concept. So once it's scrapped, once they figure out that doesn't fit, what are we going to end up with next door? Because when it doesn't fit, she's got it rezoned to R5 now, or R4 if she ends up redoing it. What are we going to end up with next door? We've got no buffer zone around us. It's surrounded by R2. So we've got single family homes next to what's going to be an R5 high density multifamily unit. There's no buffers. Normally you have some sort of a buffer and you have some sort of a transition from one residential type, zoning type to another. Right now, we're trying to stick 2 parcels in the middle of, surrounded by R2, and just say, we're going to stick these 2 parcels in as an R5. And I don't think that meets what the zoning was established for, as far as transitional buffering. What are we going to do with traffic? There's all these issues that nobody can tell me how it's going to be resolved, because there's no plan, there's no site plan, there's no nothing that they've really proposed. What was in the News Gazette looks like it was an AI model, but it doesn't meet the qualifications under the zoning code. So I don't know where they came up with that little figure, but it doesn't fit. Because again, those parcels are kind of weird shaped. One's longer than the other. It just doesn't fit the concept for a cottage court. That's all I really have to say.
My name is Walter Proch, and I live on 27 Lang Street and have lived there for quite a while. I just would like to point out that I'm not against progress as long as it's done in an orderly fashion, and that is your responsibility. The people that have been complaining about the impact in the area have a legitimate gripe. The other thing I wanted to point out for all of you is, because this whole thing up and down revolves around the old town Savoy and how we can regenerate it. And to a large part, that is your responsibility to do it in an orderly fashion. And the other day when I was here, I kept thinking of the businesses that we're trying to attract. Don't look so grim, John. But I thinking back of the old Savoy and what we had here in the old town, okay? First of all, we had a driving grain elevator, and they employed people, and there was a small apartment building on Church Street that was mostly occupied by people that worked for the elevator. Then we had a filling station. The filling station had a repair shop, automotive repair shop. next to the filling station, we had a firehouse. On the other side, on the south side of Church Street, we had a working lumber yard. I don't know how many of you can remember that. South of the lumber yard, Mr. Koss had a very good chemical and fertilizer business operation for a number of years, which brought a lot of revenue and visitors to Savoy. Mostly they were surrounding farmers, right? Then we had a roofing company. Then we had a working operating school, right? I don't know how many. The school, the village ended up buying because we needed parking space, and the park was a good investment. Then, of course, we had Dunlap. Before my time, there was a beautiful orchard there, right? We had the Dunlap family. We had a senator living in Savoy. So the question is, what happened? I can tell you what happened. Government. Because all this happened before we incorporated. And we started people what to do, what they can do, and what they cannot do. And my standing gripe, John, mostly is that you're trying to rejuvenate that with taxpayers' dollars. That's my biggest gripe. You know, there was a time when that wasn't possible. And I still remember the day when the Supreme Court allowed a private developer to do eminent domain in Boston on a waterfront area. And ever since then, all the government's been spending taxpayers' money on eminent domain with a good intent. But it doesn't always work out too good. As we have seen here, we've gone for 50 years where private investors have stayed away because of all these regulations, the cool and the cost. Construction cost is horribly high right now, and it probably won't come down. It's very difficult. That's why I'm not against progress. If somebody wants to invest money in Savoy, I'm for it, but I would like you guys to do it in an orderly fashion. Thanks a lot.
Do we have any other public comment?
Good evening. My name is Marissa Sierro. I live at 302 Blue Stem. I'm here tonight representing Flippin' Fabulous LLC regarding our rezoning application for 201 and 205 West Church Street. Over the course of this process, including our April 20th Planning and Zoning Commission hearing, we have closely monitored public feedback. We recognize that the primary concern of local residents is the preservation of the Old Town Savoy neighborhood, and especially its character. Our objective tonight is to demonstrate that our proposed cottage court development aligns precisely with that goal, balancing neighborhood preservation with municipal growth. There is an understandable concern that an R5 high-density multifamily designation could permit large-scale multi-story apartment complexes. If that were the operational plan, neighborhood opposition would be entirely justified. However, the objective facts of our application structurally eliminate that possibility. The design that I have proposed consists of single-story detached two-bedroom, two-bathroom cottages centered around a mandatory common green space. The impact of this development could address a large market need for an active 55+ housing, also generating over $33,000 in annual property revenue for the village. It would include the off-street parking and would address any traffic flow issues. On May 7th, I submitted a voluntary pro-offer of condition legally binding that this rezoning request legally, should it be approved for R5, be bound exclusively for low profile cottage court footprint as seen in the site plan. During the April 22nd study session, trustees suggested the request of resubmitting the application under R4. While I appreciate this input, and it is a true statement that R4 and R5 both support the cottage court, at this point in time, this is really a procedural timeline and a predictability and a process issue that I am bringing up. For over a year, I have been working hand in hand with the village staff. I have been following the UDO, and I have been working with and considering feedback from zoning. With that, I'm demonstrating transparency and my dedication to this community with a goal of optimizing what we can put into that land while hopefully ensuring that this project actually respects the scale of Old Town Savoy. A vote to approve tonight's rezoning at R5 is not an approval for high-density apartments. It's a vote to authorize low-impact, single-story cottages that satisfy a specific housing need and can expand the village tax base immediately. We have met all of the institutional requirements, and we respectfully request your approval tonight. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? That's for the Veterans Day. Memorial Day. It's on the Monday at 11.
I have one other question. I never heard a thing brought up. 206 question.
Point of order.
Yeah,
This is not.
we're not debating this right now until we call up the motion, okay? Is there any other public comment?
Hello. I'm Adam Sierra. I'm Marissa's husband. I almost said wife there. I do that a lot. A lot of people have gotten up here to say why this isn't going to work and everything like that. I just wanted to offer my vote of support for my wife. I know she's done the due diligence with the board, with the planning commission. It was voted to be by the planning commission unanimously approved. And I think that says something to the work that was put into it. I know the high density and multifamily seems to be scaring a lot of people. I thought she did a really good job of quelling those fears and stating that that's not the intention. We live here. We're raising our family here. This is the community we live in. There's no bait and switch here. There's no approve it and then we're going to, well, she's going to, because it's her project. She's going to pull the plug and try and do something else. As I stated before, she's worked closely with everyone involved in this project, and this has been the plan since day one. I don't know where the apartment fear came from, but not from her, not from her plans. And I think giving it the weight that it's being presented with is kind of absurd a little bit, to be honest with you. So I hope that you guys can vote with your planning commission, who again voted to unanimously approve this. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
Hello, I'm Dana Cohen. I live at 406 East Tamaris. And I also just wanted to give a word of support in this development plan. I know that there's housing shortages in the county. And as someone who works to attract talent to our county for what I do, I know we really need quality housing, especially in Savoy, where a lot of people are looking to live when they're coming here to work for various entities in our community. I've also known Marissa for so long. I've been a colleague of her, a friend of hers, a neighbor of hers. I know when she says this is what she intends to do, I know this is what she intends to do. And I know it's with the purest intentions and her wanting to help build our community and make it good, and not just good, excellent. And so I trust her. I trust what she's trying to do is a good thing for our community. And I just wanted to throw in my word of support. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment tonight? Okay, I see no one standing up. I'm going to say last call for public comment. Okay, I don't see any other public comment, so we'll close public comment. Guess I shouldn't turn that off. We'll move on to the consent agenda. And note that the items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine in nature or have already been discussed by the Board of Trustees. They will be approved together by one motion, second, and roll call vote unless a trustee requests separate consideration. Any item requested for further discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and addressed under action items. The listed ordinance and resolutions were previously discussed in the May 6th, 2026 study session, and the Board of Trustees directed staff to bring them forward for final approval. The items that are going to be considered under the consent agenda are the minutes of April 1st, 2026 Board of Trustees study session meeting. B, the minutes of the April 8th, 2026 Board of Trustees regular meeting. C, the minutes of the April 22nd, 2026 Board of Trustees special meeting. D, resolution 2026-R21, a resolution rezoning 206 Wesley Avenue from R2 to moderate density single family residence district or DT to DT downtown district. E, resolution 2026-R22, resolution approving the rezoning of a property with PIN number 03-20-25-344 from R1 low density single family residential district to P1 public use and institutions and PIN number 3-20-25-300-045 does R1 single family residential district. F, resolution 2026-R23, a resolution approving the Board of Trustees attendance at the 2026 Illinois Municipal League Annual Conference. And G, a resolution 2026-R24, a resolution authorizing repairs to ladder 461 at Pierce Midwest Refurbishment Center and Red Line Fire and Safety. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I don't know how the clerk wants to divide that up, but at the clerk, when she's ready, she can call the motion.
Trustee Donaldson,
Yes.
Dykstra,
Yes.
Camphor,
Yes. Mangian,
Yes.
Maverick,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, we're done with the consent agenda, so we'll move on to the action items. Our action item tonight is Resolution 2026 R25, resolution rezoning 201 and 205 West Church from R2 moderate density single family residential district to R5 high density multifamily residential. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Last call for a second to the motion. Okay, having no second, the motion fails due to lack of a second. We'll move on to Board of Trustees remarks. Any remarks? Joan, sorry, Heather.
We received a big thank from 17 people raised tickets. But thank you, Joe, for everything you did. And save the day here.
Any other Board of Trustees comments?
So, as the newest Board of Trustee member and also being a former staff member, I have been a part of many discussions as we move forward with the comprehensive plan and how to help and make the village grow. My wife and I have lived here in Savoy since 2015. I started working at the village in 2013 and had to resign my post due to family issues in 2023. There were several discussions had during village staff meetings and also during board meetings. And I know that the board that I worked under and served under as planning and development and then as treasurer, I know that the board had many, and most often good intentions to move this village forward with all that they discussed and made plans for. I don't think any of them had any negative intentions for that growth, but they knew in order to grow, there were, we'll just say simplistically, two things that needed to happen: more residents or homes, or more commercial activity bringing in tax dollars. So I will lead with that. With what is being proposed now, we've got the village, whether it's the downtown district, whether it's the village town square, whatever we call it, the village leadership is trying to improve point number 2. Because along those same lines, there are a number of people who live in the village who are opposed to more growth as far as residential growth. And I mean moving further south or moving further west, which were also in some of the comprehensive planning, adding more residential county tax dollars as well as village commercial dollars. So I want to make that clear that there are never, ever ill intentions as far as helping the village of Savoy grow. I know that 1956 was a short time ago for some, and I think I'm probably, if not the youngest member of this board, I think I am the youngest member of this board. But I also love this community, or my wife and I would not have moved here. I love this community, having worked at Busey for the last 9 years of my term there. and then started the village and worked here for 10 more. So I love this community and I would never want to see anything negative happen to the community. So that's why I am speaking tonight. I think that a lot of folks who are against it, and I don't want to speak for them, I'm only speaking from my own opinion, believe that Savoy will grow too fast. I know a number of people said they don't want to be Champaign-Urbana. I don't think I want to be Champaign-Urbana either. I grew up in Urbana. My dad still lives in Urbana, and I tend to him. So I'm an Urbana kid through and through. I went to the University of Illinois, so I know the community after being in this community almost 60 years. So that being said, I hope that at some point we can come to some type of agreement, because not only did a number of the board members back then when I started at the village, and prior to that, because I also served on, I don't think it would have been called the chamber or whatever iteration it was when Mr. Helton was village administrator. But that being said, I know we had a number of ideas to help broaden the tax base in a commercial level. And I think that is still the goal. And I think that this board and previous and hopefully future ones, when I am no longer on it, are still going to want that intention to help Savoy grow. I think sometimes people are afraid of change. I am a creature of habit. So I sometimes am afraid of change as well, but I think sometimes change is good as long as it happens the way a majority of folks feel it should. And that being said, I think I will end my comments now, but I do not think that the developers have ill intentions. I know a lot of people are scared about losing their neighborhood. There are a lot of things that happen that I don't agree with, but I think progress is a good thing. And one final comment, a lot of people know that the silos have been there for a while. I know with my time on staff, there are a number of different projects to help bring them down and help activity on the east side of the tracks. I'm sure that will still happen someday, but I think right now we don't want to chase away developers. And I will say that, chase away developers, because honestly, it has happened in the past. And I think to have someone who lives in the community, who wants to build in the community, is a good thing. Thank you, President Brown.
Bill.
I just want to make a comment that about our development, kind of a bit off of what Dennis is saying. A number of years ago, we developed the UDO, and I thought that was a huge step forward. But it really changes the nature of the way that the Planning Commission and the way that this board has to operate. We used to have a process where a developer would come to us. I'll get a little closer. Yes, sorry, Wendy. We used to have a process where a developer would come to us and want to change the zoning, and then they'd have to come back to us with a site plan, and then they'd have to come back to us for more permits, and they would come to us over and over and over again, so that the board, whether it's the Planning Commission or us, had an opportunity to kind of shape what was being done in the community. In order to spur development, we implemented a UDO, which gives developers pretty much free rein to do things as long as they stay inside the box. We define the box, and you have to stay inside the box. The only opportunity that anyone at the village has to address the character of development is a change in zoning. I am 100% behind the concept of the cottages. I don't think it breaks what we're trying to do in that neighborhood. I think it could really be a benefit. I don't think that I have nothing against what the developer is proposing. I don't think there's any ill intent. I think they're going to build cottages. The trouble is someday they may sell the property to somebody else, and they then have the full ability to do whatever they want within R5. So the only opportunity that anyone at the village has to look at the character of any development in the village under the UDO is at a time of change in zoning. So I think it behooves us to pay a little different attention than we used to. When I was on the Planning Commission, when I was on zoning and planning, and even in my early time on the board, it was before we had a UDO. And we could have changed the zoning in the old days. We could have changed the zoning tonight, but put real restrictions on it and said, you can only build cottages and you can only do these things. But that really isn't the framework we've proposed going forward. We've changed the ground rules that we're asking of developers and we're asking of ourselves. So this is kind of the only bite at the apple that anyone in government gets to understand what could be in the future. So the reason that I advocated last week for R4 is that the cottages can be under R4, and I hope that the developer comes back with a proposal under R4. And it's, yes, it can be under R4 or R5. However, there are other things that can be done in the future that are outside the characteristic of what folks are looking for that property. So it's not it wasn't a vote or a lack of vote against the development. It was more to bring it back in a different fashion, to keep the concept, to build cottages, because I love the idea of having cottages. I think it's kind of cool. And I do support it. But this is because of the UDO, because of the way we are doing government, local government, which actually incentivizes developers to develop. We only have one bite at the apple. This is our only shot, unless somebody wants to do something that requires a permit. So I think it does cause us and the planning commission, and we should, talk to our planning commission members so that they understand as well. This is our only shot now, right? And we need to make very careful decisions and allow development to happen in a planned and careful way that respects the neighbors and respects what's going on, as well as the comprehensive plan, which does say that this land, in fact, even some of the adjacent homes are eventually going to be multifamily or they're going to be transitional to the downtown district. So we need to respect the comprehensive plan as well. I think there's a compromise in here, and I look forward to that coming back to this body.
Heather.
I also have to say that I'm very positive and excited outlook for the future for the downtown development and the cottages. As Bill has said, this is the time we also need to be carefully planning for the future. And so we look forward to what will and can happen.
Any other trustee comments? Last call. Okay. I believe that is the end of our agenda items, which it is, so I'll declare us adjourned.